Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Ray here, and I want to talk to you guys today about infidelity and the trust system. So, I call it the trust system because in America, we don't really have any sort of I guess, penalty for for infidelity, as well as we don't really have anything to really guard against it in regards to boundaries and just set rules that people that are married or in committed relationships have that used to be a thing of the past. That something there were certain boundaries that people didn't cross, or certain social norms that were put in place, so things like infidelity and cheating wouldn't happen. So I thought it was funny because what happened with me is that I was on this Facebook chat. I'm sorry, it's one a little blurry, but there we go. I was on this Facebook chat, and somebody mentioned about how it was a article about Johnny Depp or something like that, and how he knew that Amber Heard was like banging producers to get roles and things like that. And I put up a comment that says, there is no monogamy in Hollywood, and I completely stand by that statement. I mean, are there one or two? Maybe somebody mentioned Jay Leno, and I was like, you know what? I've heard Jay Leno speak, and maybe it's possible. He seems pretty dedicated to, and he seems like he's a conservative guy. I think he believes in God and things like that. Not that that means that he cannot cheat. I'm not saying that, but even if you read articles and things like Psychology Today, it does show that people that are religious and more conservative tend to be more faithful in relationships. So, but I mean, again, he's still in Hollywood, so who knows? But anyway, so I thought that was funny. So yeah, so that was the article, and then that's a comment that I wrote, and then I said actually monogamy isn't common anywhere, and a lot of people agreed with me, but there were some people that disagreed with me, and stuff like that, and I hate to go back to the whole workplace thing, but to me, a big indication of that is when you go to the workplace. If you go to the workplace, and I think, and there was an article that I read as well that most affairs happen in the workplace, which make complete sense because all the things that people used to safeguard their marriage slash long term relationships with, um, completely goes away in the workplace, right? So, what's one thing? One is that women were in the house and they didn't really, spend long periods of time with other men that weren't their partners or family members, right? So, they'd see the guy at the grocery store, the milkman, which is another one. But in general, they weren't spending 8, 9, 10 plus hours with people of the opposite sex without their partner there, and not only that, but day in and day out, and things like having male friends. I mean, it's a fairly new thing, but or female friends and things like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, they always had acquaintances, but to the point where like this dude is my bestie. Do you know what I mean? Like, can you imagine saying that? And like, I don't know, like, I hate to go to biblical times, but maybe not even that far back, but in Arabian society where they do take fidelity seriously. Those things don't happen. Our women now, they're on OnlyFans, they have social media, they can get contacted by anybody at any time, and you'd be none the wiser. All these things would not have flew back. Is flight a word? I don't think so. Would not have flew back in those days, or in today's, even in society today, where they value fidelity, right? So somebody wrote, monogamy is just an idea to make people feel good in marriage, and I wrote back, like I said, back in the day, there were things put in place. Women wore veils or were covered up. They didn't work. They didn't work outside the household, and definitely not with other men. Maybe at the market or something like that with their, family members, female family members, and sisters, or maybe a sister-in-law, etc., etc. But they weren't like spending upwards of 8 hours with the opposite sex 5 days a week, at least. Most people work more than that, honestly. Work from home and things like that. But yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that all the things that they used to safeguard, those things are no longer present in this current society, and you can see that in the infidelity rates because they're just going sky high, and they're just going higher and higher. The more women enter the workforce, the more women get higher paying jobs, the more women are pretty much open to the world, the higher the fidelity rate's going to go. And, it goes back to what I was saying before in regards to women and being lustful. Don't get me wrong, men have been doing this for eons, whatever. But in regards to women, you got to remember they're searching for that high. They love with feelings. Men, a man in his right mind loves with his mind. Women love with feelings. This is the reason why, um, in general, if a man has his wife and a mistress, right, he's not gonna give all his love and care to that mistress. Don't get me wrong. When he's with her, he's gonna, provide for her. If she wants a dress or blah blah blah, food, whatever, whatever it is that they are into, whatever. He's gonna provide for her, but he's still gonna know that home is home, and he's not going to leave his wife with his kids and his mortgage and his, essentially his life. He's not going to leave that for, you know, fun. And I'd like to hope that he's still giving his wife things that she needs, time, energy, and resource and sex. Because when you marry somebody, it is your duty to give them sex. You're not supposed to withhold sex from your partner, especially in a like revengeful way, like to sort of control them. You know what I mean? Now, if you do this, you'll get some ass, sort of thing. But anyway, whereas a woman is the exact opposite. A woman will have somebody providing for her everything at home, and she damn near, I don't want to say hates that man, but he's not getting nearly as much as the guy who's just giving her dick, or you know what I mean, the guy who's exciting her, who's giving her that rush. You know what I mean? Especially if they've been in a long term relationship. That's how women are. They, even in psychology today, it says that women get tired of sex and monogamy faster than men do. They get bored faster than men do. So what do? They start to say, "I'm not happy," aka, "I want the drug, I want the passion," and then they find somebody else. Usually at the workplace, and it starts off with conversations, right? And they're going to lunch every day, and then next thing you know, they're kissing, and then so on and so forth. Now, all this while the husband who's providing and giving her time, attention, maybe sending her flowers to work, whatever, is wondering, why can't I get any? What's the problem? Like, I don't understand. And he's going to try harder, to, you know, um, be there for her, but she doesn't really want him, because he doesn't have that spark. And that's the reason why, back in the day, divorces weren't granted so easily. Now, if you just grow apart, or if you essentially don't feel the passion anymore, you can leave a relationship, right? Easy. Just file for divorce, irreconcilable differences, etc., right? But in those times where they really valued marriage and they really valued fidelity, all those rules that I told you before were set in place, as well as you weren't allowed to get a divorce so quickly for no reason. There had to be substantial reason. Like, is he going upside your head? Is he not providing? If he's not going upside your head and he's providing for you, then no divorce. Or is she not providing her wifely duties? If she's not doing her wifely duties, then you get a divorce. But just because you grew apart or whatever on either side, no, they weren't granting that sort of stuff. Like, the marriage is really for life. Then marriage is really for life, unless it's extreme conditions. Now the way that we do marriage, it's the trust system. If you try to tell your partner, "Hey, I don't feel comfortable with you doing this, with you having male friends, with them texting you or you sending memes," well, most people are gonna say, "Well, you're just insecure, you're jealous, etc., etc., etc." But in my opinion, it's not that it's insecure or jealous; it's just inappropriate. And we've seen this with statistics, how the infidelity rate has risen with all these new things in place. So, in my opinion, I think the infidelity rate is probably about like 80%. That's my opinion. I believe it's about 50, as far as like psychology today and things like that. But you got to remember, those are people that admit it. So how many people are not going to admit it? Do you know what I mean? So it's going to be way more than that. So I'd have to say probably about 75, 80, percent of relationships I do believe are people are, being cheated on. Um, that's just my opinion, from just my gathering, from just observations, things like that. And it's usually in the workplace, man. I'm as somebody who's worked internationally as well as in the US, um, there I can count on my hand the women that I've seen that have not had inappropriate relationships at work. And I don't necessarily mean that they always, cement those relationships with sex, but even the relationships that they have with their work husbands, if their husband was there, they would not be cool with it. I'm talking about like grabbing her by the waist, freaking, playing with her hair, like, and that's what I've seen. So who knows what else is going on behind the scenes? But they're definitely having an emotional affair. So, you know, uh, like I said, and I do have evidence to back that up. The workplace is going to be your biggest issue in regards to infidelity. I mean, does it happen that she just goes to Cancun and just has a drunken night and it's wild? Yeah, it definitely happens. But statistics say it's usually going to happen. That's the Obama thing. It's usually going to happen with somebody that she knows previously and usually at work. So that guy, that coworker she introduced you to, or that guy who she said just a friend, that's really the guy you have to be, looking at. But yeah, I just want to share that with you guys. Um, you know, uh, I also think that I wouldn't personally want my wife to work. I'm currently working to the point where I can get a couple properties and do things that my wife can stay inside the household. I'm not married, but I'd like to get married one day because I'd like to have a kid. So, um, you know, in my opinion, if I could find a wife who wants to stay home, if she has a passion, makeup, jewelry, etc., I tell her to go for it. If she can work from home or have like a small business or something like that, then yeah, that's great. But if you really want to keep your marriage intact and fidelity is really important to you, then you really should think about putting certain boundaries. And we do it all the time, right? Like if I'm going to join a workout plan, I take all the sweets out of my house, right? If I'm really serious about it. And I don't just use the trust system. I don't just say, well, I'm just gonna put everything, all the temptations around me. I'm just gonna trust that I'm not gonna eat it, right? If humans could work off the trust system, then we wouldn't need a justice system because everybody would just do what they were supposed to do. We wouldn't need diets or anything like that because we could just say, hey, you know what, I'm not gonna eat that, and you just wouldn't eat it, right? But we all know, you know, it's easier said than done. We all know that we're fallible, we're human, and we have bodies, we have wants, and we have desires, and sometimes the short-term desire doesn't work with our long-term goals. And if your long-term goal is truly to be, um, you know, um, faithful to your partner, then I really think there's lots of things you should put in place in regards to the opposite sex that would make sense. It's not saying that you don't trust your partner. Of course, you trust your partner. You wouldn't, be with your partner. I'd like to hope if you didn't trust them. You know what I mean? And if you are because sex or whatever, or pussy or dick or whatever, then that's a terrible idea. That's short term. Look, I'm a hoe. I completely understand. On a short term level, that's fine, but on a long term partner, I don't think that's the way to go. But anyway, I do think if you're a sensible person, reasonable person, and you look at statistics and how the way things are going, it's completely reasonable to say that there are certain things that your partner shouldn't do. I personally would discourage having close male friends. Don't get me wrong, you're gonna have associates, somebody to just high and by to, but you know, our phone conversations, going out to dinner by themselves and things like that. I personally don't think that's appropriate. Do you know what I mean? If she wants to have dinner with him, he can come over here, to the house or whatever, or they can meet up maybe in the daytime or something like that, like for lunch or something like that. I mean, and even that one's iffy. But what I'm trying to say is that there should definitely the trust system is just not working, and that's not even a question. And if you bring it up to a partner and they're really so adamant that like, well, you don't trust me and blah blah blah, and you're just being insecure, that's not the person for you. Um, that person either doesn't care, um, that doesn't care about being faithful to you, or they're just not thinking about it. But either way, it's the same result, because what happens when people are unfaithful, what they always say is, well, it just happened, right? If somebody cheated on you once, they've cheated on you 1,000 times. And this is what I mean by that. Before you can even consummate that relationship, the extramarital or the other, the outside relationship, there's so many steps that have to happen. There's so many text messages that had to be sent that were inappropriate. So many looks, so many stares, so many meetups that had to happen before that was consummated, right? They're probably known each other for years, flirting in a way that they know that they shouldn't be flirting, um, meeting up in a way that they shouldn't be meeting up, that eventually led to holding, that eventually led to kissing, and eventually led to the copulation. So what I'm trying to say is that it didn't just happen. It's many different steps of inappropriate conversations and letters and text and gestures and actions that led up to the final thing. Um, yeah. So don't ever let anybody fool you and say that it just happened, because it doesn't just happen, right? You don't just meet somebody today and just be like, all right, well, I'm just gonna fuck them. Like, I mean, it does happen, but like I said, it's usually it's usually a slow drip, and every step of the way, you make choices, and those choices lead to you to certain outcomes. So that's how I look at it. Anyway, this video is long enough. I can go on and on about this. I find this subject fascinating. You know what I mean? And I think it's so funny how I think it's pretty common sense, but so many people disagree with me on this one. They just feel like just trust your partner, and I'm like, that's obviously not working. You know what I mean? Like, it's really insane. But anyway, let me know what you guys think about the video, and please leave a comment below. All right, peace.